Want to welcome everybody today to our first official, we'll call this official, West Side Story episode 1. We've teased it for a couple of weeks now. We even had kind of a crossover episode, if you will, with Cascadia Hockey Podcast. But here we are, episode 1 of West Side Story. With me, I guess I should say who I am. I'm Aaron Piper. That's me. With me here in studio is my lovely wife and comrade, Anya Piper.
Hello.
And with us, as is going to be normal with this show, and a special part of it is one Mr. Dan Brown from the West Side itself. How are you today, my friend?
I am doing well. Just basking in the glow of the CenturyLink Field and waiting for the MLS Cup on Sunday. Sorry to start off a hockey podcast talking about soccer, but it's pretty exciting stuff.
Well, heck yeah, man. I mean, if you've listened to the pod for, any amount of time, I'm not a huge soccer fan by any means, but I do know that soccer in Seattle is huge, and the Sounders are a good team. So,
yeah, arguably the best of the decade. But soccer's just like hockey without the sticks and slower, and you can't go behind the goal.
Well, and the funny thing is, one of the reasons I don't like hockey is when I was like 5.
You mean soccer?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Wow. See, it's Friday, dude. Thank you for catching that. As everybody turns off the podcast now. One of the reasons I don't like soccer is when I was like 5 and 6, my parents made me play soccer, and I fucking hated it because I was just a little fat fuck and I hated to run all the time. So that's where soccer got a bad place in my mouth.
It's totally fine. Like it's like music and art, or religion. We all like different things. That's what makes the world an interesting place.
Yeah, absolutely. I do support Seattle though. So all right, we're gonna start this one off. Dan, I know you had a long list of things, and I'd like to try to hit them all if we can. But I really, really, really want to hit into the women's hockey thing, because there is a lot going on right now. It seems to have exploded in the last week or two. I'm going to be here. I'm going to kind of MC, but you and Anya are going to talk a lot about this, because she has been asking me a shit ton of questions that I honestly don't have any answers to. I know that
You expect me to?
Well, yeah, I expect you to. That's what we're paying you for. I'm
getting paid?
Check will be in the mail eventually.
Okay.
I do know that like Budweiser announced that they're going to be sponsoring the PWPHA games and stuff like that. But what's going on? What's happening right now?
So this week, as you said, has just been an explosion of exposure in women's hockey. Of course, the ad that Budweiser put out saying, let's make this game for everyone, basically, like, let's treat these women fairly, was just kind of earth-moving.
It was awesome, yeah. And actually, we should differentiate Budweiser, because Budweiser Canada is different than Budweiser USA.
True. That's true.
Good call. Although all owned by a German company,
I know.
Is maybe more they're thinking ahead and saying, hey, because Germans have a pretty good women's hockey organization over there. But yeah, it's just been blowing up. And their NWHL is about to enter into their all-star break. But that the buzz between the Budweiser Canada ad, Women's Pro Hockey in Seattle is an organization that was formerly NWHL to Seattle that's starting to ramp up interest again, much like John Barr did with NHL to Seattle, and trying to get a team here. And then just a lot of info out there. Kimberly Sass, the Riveters goalie, is doing STEM and sports, and the She Is Foundation. Like, it seems like I could barely keep up with what was coming in this week.
There was a lot that was happening and stuff like that. And I think over the last few weeks, I've done a lot of research and just reading up on it. And especially with kind of the strike with the, the Players Association, the over 200 plus players that, said that they're boycotting this season for the NWHL and stuff like that, and just trying to understand it all. And I think for me, I'm gonna put it out there. When I saw the announcement about Budweiser, I was kind of like taken back because I'm like, isn't it the NWHL that needs the sponsor, not necessarily this Players Association? I guess I don't know enough, and I need somebody or would like somebody to shed some more light on it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't shed light on, except for the fact that it's Budweiser Canada. It would be my guess.
Yeah.
I don't have any inside information on that, but their support of the PWHPA is kind of unprecedented, an unprecedented move in getting behind women's hockey.
Yeah.
And I think because you got, the Zabados, the Lamoureux, Hillary Knight, I mean, you basically have all of the pantheon of female players in the last Olympics and the last few Olympics that are part of the PWHPA. There's a huge amount of them there. And so the drive is probably to get behind the names that are going to get the press that the PWHPA needs in order to move women's hockey forward. I guess I started using the word strike, but it's really more of a boycott.
Yeah.
In order to raise awareness, like the Swedish women's team did one of these and got what they needed. Much like,
but you know what? Did they stop? All the players stopped playing. Is that correct?
The NWHL still goes on. There's still some names in there. A lot of the names that you hear were playing in the CWHL before it folded last year. So for those who don't know, Canadian Women's Hockey League was running in parallel north of the border, except for Boston had a team as well, and a couple others. But they folded last year, and the majority of the players that are part of the boycott are from the CWHL, but they did pull in a ton, and I can't give you the numbers. I'd have to go look that up, of NWHL players and big name NWHL players. But there's still a ton of women that are still filling the NWHL skates too. So
yeah.
I think though the question was with the Swedish team, all the women's players in Sweden stopped playing, right?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I totally misunderstood the question.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, the entire Swedish women's national team just up and pulled what the U.S. women's national soccer team did and said, we have this list of demands that we want met, or we just aren't going to practice or play. And it went on for a few months, and then the Swedish governing body said, okay. And so they're back practicing and playing, as far as I know.
Yeah, I did see that. But that's where I'm unsure, like how well, and I like how you said it was not necessarily a strike; it's a boycott that the players, that this new Players Women's Hockey Association. I always forget the acronym for it, the PW, and then that's all I can remember after that.
HPA.
I'm gonna have to ingrain that in my brain. But like, how is it going to benefit if the NWHL really is looking for better conditions? Like health insurance and better pay and all that stuff. If not the whole entire team or all the players like boycott, how is anything going to change?
I think what she's trying to say is that without every player on board, including the ones that are playing right now, how is it going to really affect that change? I think that's the question.
I know. And I just wonder what you think about that.
So it's a great question. I think that the PWHPA, they're like, if you go out and look at their mission statement, it's really more about making the sport better for future generations. So it's almost like saying, we took the hit, and granted, they want change now, but they're looking to inspire and empower the girls like my daughter and her friends that are playing now to be able to not have to work 2 and 3 jobs in some cases, not get paid just to play a sport that they love. Those people who aren't playing on national teams don't have that. And I think that the players in the PWHPA are wise enough to see, okay, we're going to have people playing in the NWHL because they got to follow their dreams and do what they got to do. And so they aren't really looking down and from I haven't seen any negative publicity
Yeah,
around
neither have I, which I think is
like
amazing.
right. So I think it's just a sisterhood gathering together and saying we got to make a change. We're not going to denigrate you for continuing to play, or call you scabs or
Yeah,
whatever.
for sure.
We're gonna work to make this better now, and really to build toward a better future. Is kind of the way that I see it. And I could be off base with that, but
I
just
hope
with all the
not,
information.
because honestly, with all the reading I've done, it's like I feel as if that if you support one, you can't support the other.
You can't.
You can't. And I mean, that's just, it's like,
Well,
I think about the Budweiser Canada sponsoring the Players Association. My thought is all that sponsorship could go towards the NWHL players who are trying to make the living currently, and they could, support them and benefit them. They could get the better salaries and get the insurance that they're after if they had the sponsors go to that. So is this going to be a different league, or it's just all these questions up. Like I don't see
Yeah.
how this is a. I see it as a brand awareness campaign of bringing hockey relevance to all people, and specifically the women who want to play hockey and stuff. But I'm just like, man, that Budweiser, and I'm sure it's all like, you're paying somebody to produce this video, which is awesome because I know how much video work can cost. But what about if you actually put that money towards the people who are playing for their salaries?
Right.
So I don't know.
I'd call it the $1 million question, but it's
Yeah.
really more the $1 million statement. But that's been the question from the beginning. NHL is kind of like socking away money, but they didn't put any more money toward the NWHL. There was a lot of infighting between
Yeah,
the CWHL and the NWHL, paying, not paying players, etc. That you could probably spend a whole couple of pods talking about.
For sure. Yeah. I've actually read some of that. I mean, some of the stuff there. And I also was curious because of, how the NBA works with the WNBA, and how the NBA is very much a part of the WNBA, and how supportive they are. And why don't we have that? Why isn't the NHL involved? And I actually came across an article through all my reading, and Gary Beck, is that right?
Gary Bettman, yeah.
Yeah, Batman had a
yeah.
comment. Boo. His comment actually kind of made me think and wonder about what you just said about the way that the business model is for the NWHL is cause for, maybe not concern was the right word, but it's something they don't agree with, which is why they aren't involved like what the NBA is for the WNBA. I'm going to have to find that
Right.
article so I can make sure to reference it when people call us out on it.
Yeah, they've said that a couple of different ways as the CWHL folded, and then there's Graham Roustan, who owns the Hockey News and is, I think, a billionaire, but he
Let's
was
be his
also
friend.
interested. Yeah, well, he was on the CWHL board, and he pulled out and said, "No, I'm not gonna work with this anymore. I can't work with CWHL." Way before it folded. At the beginning of the season in which they folded. And he's said that he's willing to put, money behind it. But everybody seems leery of working with the NWHL in order to make it happen.
Yeah.
It's almost from, not to get all conspiracy theorist, but it almost seems like the NHL would rather create their own WNHL like the WNBA is to the NBA. But they've been really, well, no big surprise, it's Gary Bettman.
Yeah.
But they've been really tight-lipped about it. So it's all up in the air. But I think that the money went behind the names in the game as, like you said, a brand awareness piece.
Yeah.
To say, hey, women's hockey is going on. And we're going to come to your town and have all these big names. So bring your girls out there, and your boys and your husbands and wives. And
Absolutely. And if they don't come to Seattle, I'm going to be like, you're missing out, man.
yeah,
Their Dream Gap tour, I mean, I know they've done 3 different ones, I believe, this year so far. And I know they're taking a break because of the holidays. And then they're actually playing, or Team USA and Team Canada are playing right now as we're talking. So
Yeah,
I
back in
tried to go on to
Pittsburgh.
Hockey TV to watch it, but their app and thing just stinks, and it's not a free game, and I'm not paying them. So
Hey,
Yeah.
wait, isn't
Well,
that the whole issue? Is there's not enough money in it? So if you would have paid,
yeah.
you would put a little bit more money
I'm
into
pretty sure
it?
this would have been to Hockey TV.
Probably.
Yeah,
Probably.
that's probably accurate. They're playing
I
as
will
part of
pay.
their
I will pay the NWHL money if they provide their own streaming service. I got no problem with that.
so then if you're on Twitch, you ought to get out there.
Yes, I am.
Hold before I get to that though, the you mentioned the rivalry series, Victoria and Vancouver. They have dates for them. I don't have the dates with me, and I'll make sure and get that on the next podcast. But
Okay.
they're going to be out here after the first of the year. So pretty exciting stuff there too, between the barnstorming and the rivalry series going all over. It's a lot of high quality women's hockey in a lot of towns that often don't get it.
That'd
Like
be
Pittsburgh.
cool.
I like the fact it seems to me like Vancouver and Victoria the last couple of years have done a pretty good job about getting hockey back up in the forefront. If I remember right, wasn't the juniors were in Vancouver and Victoria last year?
Yep, you're absolutely right. Yeah, they were December. They did the World Juniors there, and they split, like Canada played in Vancouver and the U.S. played all their games in Victoria.
Right. Yeah. That's good stuff.
Um,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say the NWHL Twitch thing. Just since I mentioned that,
Yeah.
they have. I don't know if you guys saw the news today. That was another piece that just came out. They've had in 14 games nearly 1 million viewers. Average of about 68,000 people per game are watching the NWHL on Twitch, which was those numbers are about what they had the entire season last year.
Wow.
On Twitter live streams for the NWHL. So they're doing some things right and opening a lot more eyes to the game and getting them watching. By that partnership with Twitch seems to be paying off pretty well.
For sure, man.
So if you're on Twitch, get out there and check it out.
Hell yeah, that's astronomical, man. That's amazing. Right now, are you watching right now?
I'm watching clips of the game going on right now because I can't watch it online. I'm bummed. Of course, I mean, I don't want to pay
By the
Hockey
way-
TV.
Score update. What's the score?
Looks like it's 2-1 Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always a good game. But that, by the way, those numbers are for the first 4 weeks of the season too.
And
That's true.
And you said those are comparable to the whole season last year?
Of the game of the week broadcast that they did on Twitter.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So they were at like 945,700 and something, I think was the actual number, but I'll round it up to 1 million.
For sure, man. That's like just the month of October, and that's amazing.
I'm stoked. So the interest is there. You know, you've got your naysayers out there, some comments that I saw, and some people bring up some valid points. I mean, they say, you know, how can you make a livable wage if you're only playing 24 games and all that kind of stuff. And I get that. I do agree with that sentiment, but at the same time, I think that's part of what the change is trying to happen here is they want more than 5 teams and a 24 game schedule and all that sort of stuff.
Right. And it comes down to like Budweiser's ad is huge because what it comes down to, like the old argument is always, well, you know, women's hockey, they don't put, you know, rears in chairs. And what it comes down to is they have none of the marketing clout. Half of them don't have practice rinks.
Yeah.
Like they've got money behind it. So for Budweiser to step out and actually do something about it, like that gets the exposure, that gets butts in chairs, that gets more games, more teams, wider spread fan base. You know, that's all the same stuff looking back at the history of the NHL and the Pacific Coast Hockey League and stuff like that you have to do to build your brand. But if you don't have any money behind it because nobody's willing to throw it out there, then you're bootstrapping all the time. And, you know, much like, you know, going out and starting a restaurant, if you don't have the people sitting in there to watch it because you don't have the marketing budget, then you're going to fail.
Absolutely.
Sorry. I'll
No.
step off. I'll step off my soapbox now.
Honestly, I think a lot of this over the next couple of months is going to be a soapbox because I feel like a lot of it's going to unfold one way or the other, and I'm super happy that my wife is on board with this because she's really dove into it. I've always been a supporter of women's hockey. That statement that I heard a while ago where somebody said, if you say you're not a fan, if you say you're a fan of hockey but not a fan of women's hockey, then you're actually just a fan of men's hockey. You're not a fan of hockey as a sport, and
Yeah.
that really stuck with me. And so I'm excited. I really am, and I'm hoping that whatever the take is on the NWHL, whatever they're doing wrong, whatever they're doing right, I don't know what it is. I hope to see that expand, whether that's the NHL taking control of it or whatever.
Yeah.
They proved last year that an expansion team can happen with Minnesota coming out, the Whitecaps, and winning it all. Seattle's going to be in a prime position in 2 years to do it. I don't see anywhere but up.
Right. Did you see, speaking of Minnesota, did you see Minnesota Lottery is now one of their sponsors too? So
That's
money's
awesome.
money's starting to get behind it. And then there's a company called Normatec, which is recovery, that's actually a sponsor for the whole NWHL now too. So companies are starting to wake up and see what's going on. Minnesota Lottery, that's huge.
Yeah.
So it's good. And they're an exciting team to watch too.
Yeah, that's, what I heard, first season last year, they win it all. Of course, like you said, and my wife has been reminding me of, it looks like Boston's just going to go undefeated throughout the whole year. Well, they've lost a couple, but they just keep winning.
Yeah, they do. They like McKenna Brand is just killing it. She's a NWHL leader and player of the month.
Yep, I saw that.
53 shots, 7 goals, and 3 game-winning goals. I mean, come on.
That's crazy. And it's they had how many games did she play that in October? 14?
Yeah.
Yep.
And her line mate Dempsey is also shares the scoring lead with her. So there's like I was telling Aaron last week. There's Lexi Bender, who's a Snohomish, Washington native.
Yeah.
Plays for Boston. So there's a lot of Boston pride, no pun intended, and love around our rink. You see a lot of Boston pride stuff because she's come out here for a couple events too.
Which is crazy because, Boston is stacked and they have not lost.
Oh, they are undefeated as of right now?
I believe so.
Oh, wow. I just made the comment they lost a couple of games. Here's what I know.
Yeah, they're a juggernaut. I think, if I remember correctly, they're playing the Riveters
when
this
they come
weekend.
Back. Yes.
Yeah, when they come back.
Because they did take off because of that. It was the Four Nations campaign tournament that they were going to do, but then because Sweden was on strike, they canceled it. And so I believe they had like a 2-week break or something. So
yeah.
Something like that.
But there's a lot of women's hockey, a lot of girls hockey going on, even with the break.
To me, I know the NHL isn't officially behind things, but I think in Boston, you're kind of seeing what can happen if an NHL team, or if the NHL were to get on board, because it seems like the Bruins do a really good job of promoting for the team there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the women's team there, is it the Boston Pride? Is that what they're...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Boston Pride, they play at the Warrior Ice Arena, which is the practice facility for the Bruins, correct?
They do. They play and practice there. And also Carter Hutton.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen him, sometimes he'll do interviews in a Buffalo Buttes cap.
Okay.
So he's definitely a big supporter of women's hockey and the Buffalo Buttes up there too. So you see the NHL players starting to creep in and lend their support.
Cool.
Sometimes in some pretty subversive ways, but loving it. And Boston they had a team in the CWHL too. So they had enough players and enough interests to put, butts in chairs to field 2 teams in a market. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm hoping at some point because Shannon Zabados has a tie to this area. She used to actually be with the Americans organization back in the day. But would like to try to get her on to talk about it. She's part of the striking group right now, correct?
Yeah, she's part of the PWHPA.
Or I'm sorry, the boycott group. I don't want to use that strike anymore. Strike sounds mean. I like
It's
the
true,
boycott.
'cause
I like the boycott aspect.
I do too, because it makes me think that it's not a strike. Because if it's a strike, to me, you're separating, you're drawing a line in the sand, and I don't think that's what it is. Understanding what you've been saying about it and stuff, and I think it's better to say they're boycotting, and they're an awareness. They're bringing awareness about women's hockey and the importance of it, because it is important to so many girls and women here, and I'm so excited to see it grow and just to get involved with it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. The Zabados, there's I work as WHL ambassador, the Women's Hockey Life ambassador, which is run out of Canada. They have gear out at Gong Show, so if you want to show your support but don't have a team, you can always buy some of that.
Oh, nice.
Plug.
Yeah.
but Kyla Jane, who runs that, she's kind of the heart and soul of that organization. Super hardworking. She's a goalie. Don't hold that against her.
You know what? Goalies are my favorite. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, but goalies are like the base players of hockey because they're just steadfast and solid, or they're just completely flaky.
Yeah,
that's very accurate.
She's steadfast and solid, but she's good friends with Zabados. So let me reach out and see what we can do.
Cool.
Because it'd be great to get some of those folks out here talking about it firsthand. So it's not just some lackey like me who's passionate about it but doesn't know it from the inside. Be nice to have them chatting about it too.
Yeah, definitely. She was in town here 2 seasons ago, but that was before all this really started to heat up. So gonna be a good conversation to have. Okay, I think we covered a lot with that. Was there anything else you had in your notes, babe?
No, I have been talking Aaron's ear off all week about the boycott and the NWHL and everything that's going on with the women's national level, that I was kind of nice to talk to somebody else about it.
Thanks.
Yeah, feel free to hit me up via email or text. Aaron's got all my contact
Awesome,
info.
yeah.
And if you really wanted to pay me, you could float me one of those Soul on Ice sweatshirts when they come back in.
Oh, yes, I will. You have a shirt, right? But did I send you a shirt?
I've got a couple of shirts, and I still even have a few of the stickers that I bought a long time ago that I keep handing out.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. We're still trying to. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother podcast. But yes, that's good. You had brought up a couple other things that you wanted to talk about. Before we run out of time, if you're cool with it, I would love to talk to you about the barnstorm. Well, not the barnstorm. I'm sorry, that's the wrong term. The dumpster fire that is the Seattle Thunderbirds right now. Yes, I said it.
I don't know if there's much to say about the Seattle Thunderbirds right now.
So I have to ask, are you a Seattle? Like, you're actually a Seattle fan, or you are on the Everett side of things?
So yes and yes. So I grew up all over Hellengone, but I settled for middle school and high school, the formative years, in Auburn. So we would head into Seattle because it was the closest place to go watch professional hockey, although the Tacoma Rockets existed for a while. And a side note, I did get to see Gretzky in the Tacoma Dome.
Nice.
Which was pretty awesome on a preseason game. But so supported the Thunderbirds for years, still do, but play out of Everett a lot, and know a lot of people in that organization. And so I support both teams a little bit. If I'm going to wear something, it's probably going to be Thunderbird stuff because I have more Thunderbirds gear than Everett gear. But if I'm going to go to a game, it's kind of a toss-up.
Yeah.
I really, because I know the people in Everett and play there on their community rink quite a bit, it's just kind of become more my adult home for hockey. So there's that. But they're always Well, except for this year.
Yeah.
It's been a good rivalry the past few years with with Bear and Carter Hart and Barzal and Theodore and those guys moving through these organizations. But this year, I hate to say it, but I think you're right. I don't know how much there is to talk about with the Thunderbirds because right now they're scraping the bottom of the barrel. They look disjointed. I feel like they're probably in a funk. When you start losing, it's really hard to dig out of it after you've lost a lot. And speaking of losing a lot, they lost, a huge percentage of their good players over the last few years.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of Thunderbird representation in the league right now. So
It's like they're rebuilding, though.
Well, it's a junior.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a junior cycle. I mean, for those that aren't familiar with junior hockey, there is a cycle you go through. You get these guys for no more than 4 to 5 years, depending on birthdays and stuff like that. But there is a cycle, and Seattle's in it right now. So they're in the bottom part of that cycle, as I call it.
For sure, and consequently, for the fans around here, Thunderbirds fans are sad, and the Tips fans are just elated.
Oh my god! So I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say I think Dustin Wolf is gonna finish with better numbers than Carter Hart did in the WHL.
All right,
you heard it here. You heard it here.
I'll bet you a handmade coffee beverage, and I'm a coffee professional, so you call it. I'll make it for you, latte art, and I'm just doing it out of fun because I think you may be right.
Nice.
That young man is just
amazing.
God, he's so good.
I cannot wait to have them come around again and. Like, we get to watch them.
Yeah, we don't get to see him over on this side until February this year. So,
yeah.
But that kid, and that's the thing, where he's at right now, to me, is better than what Carter was in his draft year, to be honest with you.
We're huge Hart fans, for sure.
which begs the question is, why did anybody wait until the 7th round to pick up Wolf? I actually thought he wasn't going to get drafted. And that made me very sad for the kid. But he did, and I think Calgary is starting to fall in love with him even more now that they're seeing what he's doing again in the WHL.
Oh, I would think so. But yeah I don't know why it took him to 7, but maybe use that as a motivator. Maybe that's why he's completely killing it this year.
Yep.
Goalies are my favorite.
They are. I played goalie. I was a terrible goalie, but I used to play goalie back in the day. I just liked it because I got to put all the equipment on.
You and me both.
I think it's so expensive, all that equipment.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. We got a girl who plays goalie for us. By the Kim Sass, the goalie, Kimberly Sass, the goalie for the Riveters. She's a pen pal with her, by the way, which is super cool because you don't see that with men in the league. She's reaching out to her.
Now I want to be pen pals.
Right? But yeah, it's expensive. We're constantly talking to her parents about how much they're spending, and like all of Christmas and birthdays and everything goes into gear. But it's super awesome. But I just like putting on the 45 pounds of leather pads, which ages me. For sure.
Yeah.
But I was a completely shoddy, hockey player, period. But
hey, you and me both, brother.
Do you still play now?
But really bad goalie. At this point, no.
Okay.
Because the Sunday night game that I played up at in Everett, it's like a adult learn to play drop-in game with Rennie and the gang out there. It's a really fun group of people to play with, but it coincides with my daughter's games.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so
the girls come first, that's for sure.
Totally. And I got kendo on Monday night, so I can't do pickup up there. So I'm itching to play. Like every time I get out on the ice, I'm like, oh yeah, got to find a game. So I put the feelers out. Nobody has anything. It may be because I'm a total bender, but
but
plays hard, likes the game.
Yeah, exactly. Now that I've gotten back in shape and everything, I'm itching. I'm still scared though, because it's been almost 20 years since I've been on the ice. And I was not good then. So you add another 20 years on and it's like, oh, I don't know.
So I don't know if you ever read when I started playing again and writing. I was like, okay, I need an audience. It took me 46 years to figure that out, because and a house full of half full journals. But I started writing a blog called Beginner's Hockey Mind, and if I wrote about that very thing, coming back to the game after 20 plus years. So let me know if you want it. I'll send it over.
Yeah, do
over there.
Yes.
it.
But it was terrifying, but it was really fun. And it's like riding a bike. You figure it out after a while. It's not as easy as riding a bike for damn sure.
Sure.
But the big thing is getting all the gear together.
Yeah.
After
Start
that,
now, right?
it was just getting away from the adult mindset of I've got to be perfect at everything I do.
Yeah.
And just going in with that Zen beginner's mind, like, okay, kid, like a third my age is going to put me through the paces to see what I can do before I go out and start playing again. This isn't embarrassing at all. And I just had to shove that aside. And I'd say just get out there and do it. It's fun. And, hockey people are good people. They'll be like, all right, you're doing better. I don't want you playing on my team yet, but you're doing better.
Kyle, before he left, was going to let me borrow some of his stuff, but then that all transpired pretty quickly for him. So it's still, I think it will happen. I think now it's more of a time thing, trying to find the time to make it happen. But anyway.
Well, make the time. I've got some gear. Let me know.
All right. I might have to do that. So.
And I keep my gear smelling good. So
thank God.
Good.
Thank God. I love
that's
that.
My struggle.
I love that Enterprise rental car commercial with Marty Brodeur when he's like, I can rent a truck for all my hockey gear. And it goes close up on me and goes, man, that smells. And I'm just like, yeah, goalie gear after some time put away is disgusting. So
yeah, the rink stink is real, and goalie gear, like, it is the worst, the absolute worst, and there's no way to really get it out of there. You just do the best that you can.
No, that is a permanent thing. I tell
down it with Febreze.
Yeah, well, Febreze will take we'll knock the funk off for X amount of time, but
for a few minutes.
But then it smells like talcum powder and rink stink.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather just have the stank than.
Yep.
Than
Anyway, real quick, I know you probably got to get off here soon, but you did mention too that WWFHA won a couple of national tournaments.
Yeah, so a couple of things. They did win the US. They're actually ranked number one. Nice. Our 14U double A team went back. I want to say Midwest Michigan. And they were ranked number one in the tier 2 national rankings for female hockey.
Nice.
Right now, which is pretty exciting because a big issue around here, and by around here I mean Washington, not just the West Side, has been female players playing to a certain level and then going off to the LA Lions organization or the Lady Sharks down in San Jose or somewhere else to really excel and move up the ranks. A lot like Oshie did with Seattle Junior, and then went to War Road.
That's what I was just thinking, because everybody thinks about Oshie as a War Road kid. No, he played here till he was 15, and then he moved over to War Road.
Right. And speaking of Seattle Junior, their 14UA boys team, I think that's tier 2 as well. Won my tournament in Minnesota too. So Seattle Juniors boys team, WUFA's 14U girls team, like winning national tournaments and being ranked is a new and rarefied air around here. So it's kind of cool that as the game is coming to Seattle or coming to Washington, that these teams are starting to swing up and actually show up at these tournaments as opposed to just going there for the experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think it's just going to get even better. So, one other thing I wanted to touch on real quick. Are you good on time? Are you good on time right now?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the other aspects that we didn't really talk about, I'm gonna toss this at you real quick without any warning. You had sent out a list of books yesterday or today, I forget what it was, but tagged Buried Puck in it about books that have changed your life. I would love to. We started that conversation a while back, but I would love to have some conversations about some hockey books in this, because the more you added me to that group on Facebook a while back, and the more that I dive into it, there are a shit ton of hockey books out there.
Yeah, yeah, there really are, and I'm a total avid reader of anything that I'm interested in. So, yeah, we could talk hockey books, I don't know, for hours.
Well,
Till people just went like, "Why the hell am I listening to these people talk about hockey stuff?"
they're like, y'all are boring, man. The one I wanted to ask you about specifically real quick is there was one written recently specifically about the 1917 Metropolitans, or the
Oh,
1917.
yeah, Tysman's book.
Yeah, yeah. Have you read it? Do you know anything about it?
I have not read it yet. It is on my list in my Kindle space to read.
Okay.
But I do know that it goes, just a cursory glance at it and chat and reading reviews. I do know that it dives pretty deeply, probably more deeply than any other book that it's been written on that subject. But I have not as yet read it. So now that you've called me out, I guess I better get on that. But yeah, I'm really excited to read that, especially, I figured I had until 2021 to read it, but now maybe I just upped my timeline.
No, you have till Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Well, if that's the case, so do you.
That's true.
You better pick it up,
I'll
Aaron.
have to pick up a copy of that.
Yeah, out on All Beard and No Teeth, I was doing, and I got to get back to it. I was doing a piece called "Hockey by the Book,"
right?
That Griffin put out there, because there's a lot of good stuff out there, and if we wanted to do, I don't know, separate shows just talking hockey books, we could start with a few that maybe we've each read, and hopefully we could get authors on and things like that, because there's just a lot of good information out there and a lot of great people. It's
yes.
A lot like you and Kwame with Soul on Ice.
Yep.
Just getting good people together to chat about underrated portions of the game, or the lore of the game.
And there's a lot of them out there. And Kwame was just a quick. He had reached out to me on Twitter just one day and was like, "Hey, I see the video work you do for the Americans, man. It's really good stuff." And that was where it started, and it's continued on to this day. So yesterday was his birthday, by the way. So big happy birthday to him.
Happy birthday.
So, well, I tell you what, man, it's Friday evening. We don't know exactly when we're going to be recording this. I think we said every 2 weeks we're going to try to do it on Wednesdays, and then we'll release it on its own. But it will start to get a life of its own, I think, over the next couple of sessions and everything.
Yeah, we'll find our rhythm.
Yep, for sure. I think it's great information though, and I know I'm gonna say Buried Puck, we're gonna get more involved with the Twitch channel. We do have a Twitch channel, so if we can get on there and watch some of these NWHL games, and give some support there, I would love to do that. Anything you wanna pimp out from the West Side? I know how is that GoFundMe for your buddy going that got hit in the face?
I have not, to be truthful. I haven't checked on that this week. Haven't seen him around the rink, that's where I'm headed tonight for my daughter's practice. So I keep looking around for him, but I know, within a few days, I think I want to say $4,000 or $5,000 had been raised out of the $10,000 goal. So I don't know how he's doing, but I know that's a pretty big show of support from, the $10, $15, $5, $25, it all helps. But so I'll get a report for you as soon as I know.
Cool.
But haven't seen him traipsing around the rink just yet.
You might be a little bit ahead of schedule if you were doing that at this point, so doctors might frown upon that.
Yeah. He's also a Zamboni driver, so he's not necessarily always playing.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes he's sharpening skates, sometimes he's driving the Zammy, sometimes he's taking cash, and then he also works as a plumber. So both at that rink because it's ancient, and outside for a real job.
I love that because you know what's up. I mean, working in the hockey world like that's not a real job. So, not in that capacity anyway. Well, anything else though? Is there anything else you got going on you want to talk about?
Nope.
Okay.
Just just squirrel trying to get a nut around here. Trying to make it through the holidays. One kid in college, the other one I'm hauling around to hockey practice and piano lessons and gymnastics and everything. So you know how it goes.
Oh yeah.
Just being a parent. But nope, nothing that I want to throw out there. So thanks for asking. No.
Yeah, you bet, man.
Thanks for letting me kind of hop in and chat with you. It's so fun. I love talking this, and it's kind of nice to have another ear to listen to and bounce ideas and thoughts off of, especially
What
for the
she's
women.
trying to say is that I'm boring.
That's inaccurate.
Yeah, that's what comes with long-term marriage. But you figure out ways to spice it up.
Exactly. Exactly.
And sometimes that's talking to somebody else because it makes you realize how much you appreciate the other person. See what I did there?
Yeah, I like it.
That's what she appreciates is about me.
Yeah. I thought about, if we're going to call it West Side Story, should we talk about the Sharks and the Jets every time they play as the drama geek of this group?
As the drama geek.
So West Side Story, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. The Sharks, the Jets.
Yep.
Or should we have the snaps at the beginning? I don't know. These are things we'll need to figure out.
Well, I got to ask, who are the Sharks and who would be the Jets then?
Well, he's actually saying the Sharks and the Jets.
I know, but who? Who's are we the Sharks or is he?
I don't know.
I'll have to figure that out.
Maybe we all need to go rewatch it. And in a couple of weeks, we'll have to figure out who's Sharks.
I like that.
Jets.
We'll definitely do that.
Right. I'm down with that.
And then we need a girl named Maria on the show, maybe. I don't know.
My middle name's Marie.
There you go. There you go.
Fucking A, man. This has gotten crazy. It's just all falling into place.
It is. Let's do it.
Yeah, from hockey to musical. Well, actually, soccer to musical theater.
That's true.
And everything in between. All right. Well, if you've stuck with us this long, we appreciate it. This is going to be something we do every couple of weeks. And for right now, you can reach out to us through Buried Puck channels, through Cascadia hockey channels. There's a lot happening with that. Keep an eye out. buriedpuck.com, buriedpuckthreads.com, bpthc.com. It'll all take you to the same place. But you can go there and buy a shirt or sign up for an email list. There's a lot going on there. So as Dan just mentioned, if you were on the email list, you would know that Soul and Ice hoodies are coming back here soon. So anyway.
And what's your Twitter?
email list?
What's that?
I said, do I get points for being on the email list? So I knew.
Hell yeah.
My Twitter is @sounder, 2, the core. That's the handle. You can also find me by searching at Waiting for October 2021.
Yeah. Awesome. Now I wanted to make sure we got your Twitter handle out there and stuff. So
yep.
Once we start
people
getting...
People have comments, questions. No, sorry. People have comments, questions, concerns, opinions.
We'll make sure to send them your way.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Send me all the crappy stuff. I don't mind.
Oh, man. All right. Well, this has been fun. We appreciate it. And we will be back right around 2 weeks after you guys hear this. So bear with us as the holidays are coming. It could get a little crazy with schedules, but we just picked the best time of year to launch a new project. So.
That's true.
Anyway. All right. Well, for Aaron and Anya and Dan, that's all for episode 1 of... What are we going to call this? Buried Puck presents Cascadia Hockey's West Side Story. I mean, holy shit, dude.
That's a long name.
That sounds like Nacho Libre. She is from the Guadalupe, La Hearts of the Sacred Women of the Mountains of the western side of Mexico.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, so you guys know what I'm saying. So anyway, episode 1, West Side Story, I'm rambling now, is now in the books. And thanks for listening.